Welcome everyone to another Silicon Labs product podcast. This is the second episode in a conversation we're having with Mark Tekippe from Digi and with Alex Koepsel from Silicon Labs. And we're covering the discussion on our new LTE-M evaluation board. And so it's been great, Mark and Alex, for you guys to join us.
Yep, no problem. Thanks for having us.
So this episode, I thought we'd get into a little bit more technical questions. They're not too hard for you guys, but when I looked through all the information on the web and when I played with the kit, these were the questions I had. So hopefully maybe some customers and our team might find some help with the questions that you guys answer. So let's just start off right at the top with a new guy who hasn't really worked with cellular that much. Mark, this might be best for you. The kit mentions that it's LTE-M. And so can you explain the LTE-M and really the cellular specifications?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of terms and acronyms that are being used in the cellular world. Most people are familiar with 2G, 3G, 4G, and LTE. What's happened is that the cellular standards groups have started focusing more on the Internet of Things and developing standards that are optimized for these types of devices. So LTE-M is an abbreviation for LTE Cat M1, and the M stands for machines, so it's LTE for machines is how you can think of it. And initially the current version is M1. This was originally specified by the 3GPP working group in their release 13 of the spec. And there are future enhancements planned for LTE-M as part of the release 14 spec. And these are going to be probably referred to as Cat M2 or LTE-M M2. So some of the enhancements going forward are things like even higher data rates, improved mobility, and half duplex voice support.
All right, that's perfect. I didn't know about the machine, so that was helpful. That's why they chose M. So thanks. Looking at the solution, I noticed that there's, on the XP module, the modem. Can you talk a little bit about the chipsets used on the XP?
Sure. So the XP cellular modem, it actually uses a module from a company called U-Blocks. The specific module that we use is the Sarah R410, and this is a global, multi-regional module that supports operation of leading carriers in North America, Europe, and even parts of Asia. And the actual chipset that's used inside of that is a Qualcomm chipset. So the great thing about the XP modem is that it's a fully pre-certified with the leading carriers, so no additional certifications are required when our customers use this in their projects. The module also supports both LTE-M and NB-IoT. So it's very flexible.
Okay. You mentioned the NB-IoT, and I looked at the web, and I understand the LTE-M is great because it uses the existing cell structure, infrastructure. Could you explain the difference between the LTE-M and then the NB-IoT and the sort of the trade-offs that customers might want to look at?
Sure. So, both LTE-M and NB-IoT are both using the cellular network. They're actually both defined by the same standards body, the 3GPP, but they're covering very different use cases. So, LTE-M, we talked about some of the advantages there with supporting voice and mobility. It's, higher data rates. NB-IoT is an extremely optimized technology, and it's really intended more for sensors that are sending, only very small amounts of data every day. These would be more for fixed applications. They're higher latency. So they're kind of two technologies covering a wide span of use cases for the IoT. And you mentioned that for LTE, it's leveraging the existing network, and that's right. In cases where operators have existing LTE networks, LTE-M is basically a software upgrade for them to add support for that technology. NB-IoT, because it's quite a bit different at the protocol level, it actually requires some new hardware that needs to be installed in the base station. So it's a more significant rollout effort for most of the carriers. But that said, there's a lot of operators today that have already deployed NB-IoT networks or have committed to deploying them in the near future. Right now, there's actually 59 operators with commercially available NB-IoT networks. In the United States, T-Mobile was the first to announce nationwide coverage, and that was announced in this last summer. And we're anticipating, a lot more carriers following behind them. So it's just a matter of time. I think going forward, what you're going to see is that both LTE-M and NB-IoT are going to be adopted by all of the leading carriers because, again, they cover such different use cases.
And Kyle, just to jump on real quick and make a point, I think one thing the audience might be interested in is this XB3 family of modems or modules can support narrowband IoT as well. So that's really one of the big benefits here is give some more flexibility depending on what application and what protocol is then needed.
That's perfect. That you stopped me from asking my question because I was literally thinking that was I was going to ask if it was supported by the same solution. So that's great. One thing I noticed when I used the kit and then when I shared it with a couple other people, we were wondering about the SIM cards and what the restrictions are with it. I know that in this kit you guys partnered with Hologram, a company, but what is the ability to use SIM cards other than Hologram, and what's your guidance for customers?
Sure. Yeah, the XP module itself isn't tied to any specific SIM card. It supports global bands, so it can be used in different countries and with a lot of different carriers. You just have to make sure that the carrier and the SIM card that you're using has an appropriate data plan for either LTE-M or NB-IoT. We selected Hologram for the initial development kit because it was very easy to get a hold of the SIMs. They're very easy to use and get started with. So that's what the initial kit was tested with. But we've got a lot of other customers evaluating different SIM and carrier options in different parts of the world.
Yeah, I found it really easy. I was up and running in 5 minutes. So for those that get the kit and get it up and running, the SIM part of it was so simple. It was kind of cool. I did you'll cover the demo later, but I did the text message demo. And going into the Hologram website, I was able to get a cell number for my LTE-M board and send a text message to it within like 10, 15 minutes. So it's pretty impressive. So easy process. But moving on. So I understand the SIM cards, and you touched a little bit on the ability to use it in other regions. What are Digi's plans to support this in other territories, and what steps would a customer have to do to deploy this outside of the Americas?
Sure. The XP cellular module is truly a global LTE-M and NB-IoT module. So the physical hardware is capable of operating in a lot of different regions. We plan to do full end device certifications with leading carriers in all of the major markets. We have a global customer base, and so the initial launch that we did was focused primarily around the North American operators for LTE-M, just simply due to network deployment status. But we plan to expand that to other regions as other networks come on. And, for example, Bell in Canada recently, just this month, announced their LTE-M rollout, and so we're going to be working with carriers like that to get XB certified on their networks and make it easy for our customers to deploy.
So I guess if our customer knows that the infrastructure exists for LTE-M, then they can definitely use this kit. It's just they still have some small changes that the carriers have to do in order to support LTE-M.
It's really just around making sure that you've got first, you need to make sure that the module supports the bands for the carriers that are in the region that you're looking at. Cellular has a bunch of different bands. This module supports a large number of them. And so, making sure that the bands are supported, and then also making sure that the SIM that they get from their preferred carrier, that it has support for LTE-M or NB-IoT. And then, we're going to go and do additional testing for kind of preferred carriers and make sure that everything really works perfectly. And so we'll be, adding support for that and getting full certifications, but that happens in a prioritized way.
Okay. And then I really wanted to end with this question. And I, as an engineer, it was fun for me to get this kit from Alex. And I opened it up and I spent the day playing through the different demonstrations that you guys have put together, both Digi and with Silicon Labs. Can you guys touch on a couple of the demos and projects that the customers can, immediately start evaluating the solution with?
Yeah, I can take that one. And by the way, Kyle, you stole some of my thunder. You already told them about the text message demo, so that's a good one. So I can talk about that one a little bit. Basically, you can, as Kyle said, from your phone send a text message, or even from the hologram dashboard. So once you enable the SIM card from the hologram built-in dashboard on their website, you can send a message to the kit, and the Giant Gecko 11 MCU receives that and displays it on the starter kit. The second demo we have is probably, I'll start with the simplest one. It sends a request to an international time server in the cloud, gets the time, and then displays that on the kit as well. And then the third one is a little interactive with the cloud with Digi's Remote Manager Cloud product. So it reports temperature sensor data to the Digi Remote Manager. So a few different demos to choose from and help you get started there. Just another note for the developer experience, we do sell the Giant Gecko MCU kit separate from the expansion kit. So that's something important to note. We try to explicitly mention that on all distributor sites and Silicon Lab sites. So basically, you'll buy the two kits. When you receive them, you connect them, hook it up to Simplicity Studio, and then enable your SIM card and you're ready to go. And as Kyle said, it literally takes probably under 10 minutes to get going. So hope you guys enjoy them as well.
I'll add one more point too. We're going to be actually demonstrating this product at Electronica next week in Germany. And so I encourage you to stop by if you're in town. It's a pretty cool demo. We're going to be able to remotely monitor and control devices that are in different Digi offices around the world from the trade show floor. So it's pretty cool, and it's a great interactive demo to show the technology.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. Just to go into a little bit more detail, so with the Digi Remote Manager, Alex, I just opened up that example project. You go into the include file and you put in the account information that you set up yourself, and then as soon as you build the project and program the board, it communicates that information to the remote site, and then you can use the Digi Remote Manager services. So it's pretty cool. Very easy to get started. I'm sure that you'll have a lot of fun at Electronica with it. So before I wrap up, I wanted to remind our listeners that the best way to get more information on this LTEM evaluation board is to go to both digi.com as well as scilabs.com. And on there you can find all the data sheets and the product information to answer the rest of your questions. So again, thanks Mark and thanks Alex for your time.
Thank you, Kyle.
And hopefully everyone learned a little bit something new, and you join us for our next Silicon Labs product podcast. Thanks, everyone.